Happy Friday everybody. I'm ready with another tag 9. We're nearly in double figures, so let's crack on. A bit more like me, we've got a bit more stuff on the desk today. So what I'm going to do, we're going to do strips and stitch today. So what you're going to need are some strips of different bits and pieces, a backing piece. I'm going to use a piece of quilt just for mine, so I've already drawn around my template, and then I chose this wool that I've got as my colour inspiration. So this is from West Dean. Is that going to focus? Oh, yeah, there we go. West Dean Tapestry Studio, custom hand-dyed wool used on studio commissions. Lined up ready to use as tapestry order, can be used with imagination on any textile project. So that's flipping awesome, absolutely perfect for what we're going to do today. So this is the colour that I have taken as my inspiration. So it's obviously a variegated thread, so I'm going to be using that, which is quite yummy. So taking inspiration from that, I've pulled out a few bits. I think this is sari silk and a little bit of linen to create my strips, and then I've got 3 coordinating colours that I may or may not use for my stitching. So let's get cracking. Right, okay, cut it out. Let's do that first. So then I've got my edge. So I hope everybody's well. I've just got back from a very nice walk. I feel very refreshed. So I thought, right, can spend some time doing some flags, neaten that edge off there. Okay, right, so I've got my flag shape. So again, slightly smaller than my actual flag. I've been really impressed with how people have been altering their shapes and their designs to fit the different shapes that everybody's done with their flags. So with my strip that I'm going to put on, I'm going to use the selvage edge of this. It's got a little red stitch in it, but it's got that little fluffy edge, and those of you that know me know that I love a fluffy edge. So I'm going to use this as my background. So I'm going to stitch it, just stitch it, cut it so it's longer than my piece, because then I can trim it down afterwards. Or actually, I think already I'm going to wrap that around the top. Yep, so I'm doing it to one side because we're going to create sort of like an L shape to start off with, and then we're going to do a little bit of stitching. So she says, looking round, where are my pins? There we go. So to pin that one there at the top. Just going to lay that down because I'm going to put my strips then over the top of that. So I'm going to couch these down. So couching basically is laying something over the top, and then you do little stitches just over the top of it. So I'm not going to iron that out. I want to keep it quite bunched up so it's a little bit chunky. Pop that over the top. Okay, a bit fiddly. Go. The pin that at the bottom. Ooh, bent pins. Just don't know my own strength. Just pop that there. Take that one out, pop that in. There we go. Right, so I'm going to couch that one down. So that's going to be my first one, and then I'll put my other one on the top. So I might use the brighter blue colour. So your couching could blend in, it could really stand out, so you could do an accent colour and make it really pop out. So with this I probably could have done a red, but I quite like the yellows because I'm actually probably going to cover that red up maybe with my second strip. So I'm going to go for 3 strips in total. So to couch, basically all you need to do is gather gather it together, and you're going to come up one side and then jump over and go down the other side. So you're trying not to catch the fabric on the top. So I've just started there just to get me going, then I'll go back upwards this way. So jump over, try not to catch that thread, and what that does is it'll just pull it in and just raise it up. There we go. So I'm going through quite a few. You can see it's just pulling it together. Oh right, let me close the blind. It's been grey all day and the sun has just decided to come out and totally blind me. Typical. It's time of year. The sun normally doesn't come through the window that much, but because obviously it's lower in the sky, when it comes through it's crazy. Okay, so I haven't needed to stitch the lower layer down because just doing the couching is going to stitch it all in one go. There we go. So you can just see, just beginning. You're going to focus. Oh, sunshine. There we go. So you can just see I'm just beginning to pop that all together. Typical. Get yourself all set up to do some sewing. So I need to go a bit further down, so I'm just going to run my needle just through the back, just so it takes it back down to there. So you could start at the top, but I just wanted to start a little bit further down just so that it got it going. And you sort of want to keep your stitches fairly even apart as you're going down. The blooming sun's coming through. That's really, really annoying. How rude. If I've got a board I can stick just behind my laptop. It's not ideal because it's not shining in my eyes, but then it's coming through there. Piece of cardboard. I don't know. There we go. Yes, that stopped it. Right, okay. So, busy just couching down. I'm probably just less than a centimetre apart. So just come up one side and down the other. So when I'm going down the other, I'm going back nearly where the thread came up at the other side. Oh, it's getting a bit fiddly. There we go. So you want to pull it tight, but just watch your tension. So I need to take that pin out now because I can feel it's pulling a little bit. So just come up at one side, just get your strip up and over the other side. There we go. Up and over. So I hope everybody enjoyed last week's. It's one of those ones that when I'd done it and I'd finished doing the video and I'd got the rest of it to do, I was like, oh, I'm not 100% sure that I like this, but you just keep going, you don't give up. And actually, once I'd done it, I really liked it. So I was a bit dubious about my colour combinations that I chose last week. But actually, I really like it. It's not my usual colour combinations at all. Okay, I'm just going to trim that off a little. I'm going to end up cutting it a little bit more, but I just want to just pop it there. And then I've got my other bit of sari thread. I'm going to trim that because that's quite a long one. Oops. So I'm going to go back up the other side. So I'll just pop a pin just to hold that at the top, lay it down. Again, I've wrapped it so it's gone round the top, and I'm going to do the same thing. What I'm going to do this time is my stitches are going to go in between the ones that I did. So I've got 2 stitches there, and I'm going to come up in between the stitches going back up. So again, these first ones are just a little bit fiddly, just to get going. There we go. So just bring that up. So I'm coming up in between. So I've got a stitch there and a stitch there, and I'm coming up in between this time. Just adds a little bit of variation as you're going along. There we go. I've had a lovely walk today on the canal in Brookhouse. Spring is in the air, which is nice. Don't normally get time to go out on a Friday, but it was quite nice today. Bit of fresh air, went and got a bit of lunch. Just like it's been spoiled. Which I don't tend to do very often. I think that might need to be one of my mottos for this year. Go spoil yourself every now and again. I think everybody, in fact today, let's have a challenge. Let's everybody do something where you spoil yourself. If you're going to spoil yourself, what would you do? Where would you go? That you can go, obviously. I mean, it'd be lovely to spoil yourself going abroad. Somebody may be going abroad. Somebody may be abroad. I know I do get messages of people that are going away and want to take stitching stuff with them. Which I always do, I have to say. It's very rare I go away and don't have some stitching with me. It's just something to sit and do on an evening, or if I'm just sat chilling. There we go. Oh, I quite like the dangly bits, they might stay. Just has a little bit of a different shape. Oh yeah, right, okay, we're leaving danglies like the danglies. Right, so those are our strips. So I've done a backing strip and then 2 strips in front. The strips could be anything. It could be ribbon, lace, strips of fabric. If you don't have any strips of ribbon and lace, you could just snip it and rip it. Snip and rip. I could do a snip and rip tag. Okay. Oh, I quite like that. Right then, so that's the strips. So now we're doing the stitch. So let's put this all out of the way. Those in my basket. I'll put that in the basket. They don't go in the basket, they'll go back in the tin. So we're doing strips and stitch. So I'm going to use a little bit of this lovely coloured thread. I need a big needle. Oh, is that going to go through? Yep, that's going to go through. So which colour bit shall we choose? I might go with the green. Yes, there's different colours in here. Actually, it's not a variegated, it's got different threads. I was slightly wrong. I might go for that darker bit there. I don't need a lot. So I'm just going to chop a chunk off. So what we're going to do with this is going to form the bottom of our L shape. So I'm just going to do a couple of lines of black stitch. Not black stitch, back stitch. There we go. Okay, right, so I'm going to create an L shape with my stitching. So you could do as many rows of this as you would like. So back stitch is just where you do a stitch and then you go back to the hole that you just stitched, and it just creates a continuous little line of stitching. I'm doing this on a little bit of vintage quilt. You don't have to, it can just be done on a piece of fabric. If you want to quilt it, what you can do is if you get a piece of fabric on the front and pop a bit of wadding and another bit of fabric on the back, as you stitch it, it will quilt. So you'll get that sort of quilted effect. But you could just use just any piece of fabric really. I would go for something that's probably a little bit sturdier. You could pop some interfacing on the back of it if you wanted to thicken it up a little bit. I just quite like using the quilts because it gives you quite a substantial background. Obviously, if you want to do it on a piece of fabric, it might be easier to pop your fabric into a hoop and then do all the work and then cut your flag out afterwards. Sometimes that can make it easier, so feel free as usual to handle this however you want to handle it. I know some people have got different shaped flags, so you're going to have to adjust this to sort of fit your shapes, but everybody's getting really good at that. I've been really impressed with what people have done and how imaginative everybody's being. Some gorgeous shaped ones, and I'm loving the fact that some people are not even doing flags. We've got people putting them in books, got them on just like big sheets, like a big quilt, and just slowly adding them one after another. So like I always say, I'm just giving you the prompt each week. It's totally up to you as to what you want to do with the prompt. You can follow it exactly to the letter, or go totally maverick and do your own thing. So I've done 2 lines of the, it's like a greeny grey, it's quite nice actually, but I feel like I need something to pop out, so I've got the blue that I used to do my couch in, so I'm just going to do a little line of blue. Oh, actually no, I've just had an idea. I've just had an idea. Love it when you have different ideas. So rather than doing a stitch, lost my scissors, there we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it around that top one. So I'll bring this down a bit. What I'm going to do, so I've got 2 lines, that's what we've got so far. So I've got my strips that I've couched down, then I've just done 2 lines of a back stitch. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up at this end, and then using the blunt bit of my needle, I'm just going to go through that stitch. So I'm going from left to right, and then I'm going to do the same on the next one. So it wraps this other thread around. Oh, quite like that. That's really pretty. So you can do this just with a blunt needle, but sometimes when you've got a blunt needle it's a bit hard to come back through the fabric. So all I'm doing is, that's the pointy end. If you just flip it around the other way, you've got the eye of your needle, which is blunt, and it just makes it easier. That's the next one. Just to go through the stitch. There we go. And then when you get to the other end, just take it back through. Oh, that's really cute. Is it going to focus? Come on, you know you want to. No, you don't want to. There, you can just sort of see it. Oh, sorry about my nails. Just wrapped around, and then I'm just going to do a third line of stitch going back. So this time I think I'll just do a little running stitch. But you could do chain stitch, fly stitch, feather stitch, blanket stitch. I'm just keeping this bit simple because we're going to go into doing a little bit more stitching in a second. Yeah, so my hands at the moment are a little bit of a mess because at work yesterday one of the students dropped a bottle of Indian ink, which is a permanent ink, and I cleaned it up with a cloth without thinking about it, and the cloth then stained my fingers and my nails and everything, so I'm slowly getting a little bit paler, but I keep looking down at my hands and thinking, what have I been doing? I'm absolutely filthy. And then I remember it's the ink that's just stained everything. So there we have our stitching. I quite like that. It's really cute. Right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little bit of back stitch just to create a little bit of interest here. So I'm going to do just going to stitch a circle. So I need something perfect, something circular as a little bit of a template. Got one of my little dissolvable pens. So I'm just going to draw myself a little circle. There we go, because I always find it's really nice when you're looking at compositions of things to play around with straight edges and curved edges. So I'm going to go in with my grey thread next in my aught. Oh, make sure you've been doing your aught. So your aught, if you didn't follow before, it's just a little jar that is full of threads. So I have this one which is absolutely chock-a-block full, so I'm now on my next one, and this will be a tag. We did not a tag, a flag. Oh god, you'd have thought I'd have got used to this by now. And we did one that was the aught tag, so we will be doing an aught flag. It was one of my favourite tags last year. Just really crazy and really, really messy, but just yummy, just full on yumminess. Okay, right, so what I'm going to do is this little circle, I'm going to do a back stitch. So just little stitches all the way around. So using a water soluble pen, it just means that when I've finished I can just get a brush with a little bit of water on it, and I'll be able to get rid of any of the pen lines that I can see. You can get heat away ones and stuff like that, but I'm always a little bit wary about those because depending on the fabric that you've used and the threads that you've used as well, it can ruin it. Sorry about the noise, that's my daughter upstairs. She has a wheelie chair in her room and it's directly above my room. So, oh, got a knot. So when she decides to move, it sounds like a train track. Oh, there she goes again. Because obviously when you've got a wheelie chair, your legs don't work. It means you can't walk. You just sit on it and wheel backwards and forwards. It's great. So this is actually a longer video than normal. Mainly because it's not one of these ones where it's just show you the basic thing and then carry on doing the same. You are having to sit and watch every little bit and hear me chunter on. Obviously feel free to forward it. I suppose I should do that, shouldn't I, really? Is keep pausing and then videoing it and doing like a fast forward. I love fast forward videos. Well, not fast forward videos, the speedy videos, because especially when you see people stitching, it's like, goodness me, wouldn't it be amazing? But to be able to stitch that fast. I totally forgot that when you're doing a back stitch you can just go in and on. That's a little bit quicker. So you're going in, on a stitch, then you go back, in and on. So this is just playing around to start off with the straightness of the strips and the stitching that goes across, and then just popping a circle just across your composition. Hopefully that'll stay right at the edge of my linen, which may fray a little bit, but it's all good. And then we're going to add some pistol stitches just to break this up a little bit. So that's what I've got my yellow for. It's going to be my little pop of colour that's just going to add to this. There we go, back stitch all the way around. Okay, so we've got that and we've got our circle. Oh. I am liking this. This actually wasn't what I'd planned to do this week. I'd planned to do something else, but when I came to getting my fabrics out, I changed my mind, which you are allowed to do. So I was going to use a cotton thread, but actually I'm going to come back to these ones because the yellow in this is really, really yummy. So snip yourself a little length of that off. There we go, there's two different yellows in there, really yummy. Okay, so we're just going to go now with a pistol stitch, which is like it is basically a French knot. Oh, it's got a 2-ply twisty bit. I wonder if my needle threader will work. I have a needle thread. I've never got on with needle threaders, so I usually find, I think they're really better for thinner threads, but you never know, I might be able to get it to work. I don't know what I was saying then. Oh, look at that, it worked. Blooming awesome. I've got no idea what I was saying. Oh well, it'll come back to me. Oh, that was it, French knot on a stick. So pistol stitch, so we're going to come out and do some pistol stitches. So I'm going to go from the inside of my circle. So all we do for a pistol stitch is point your needle and your thread away from the hole, wrap it round, do 4 times, take it away, and that's where you want the knot to go. So put your needle in and just pull on that a little bit, just so the knot you can see is at the end. And then all you do is pull that through slowly and your knot appears on the end. So what we're going to do then are pistol stitches. So we want this to be a lovely little pop of colour. So my background's quite muted, and then I've got this lovely pop of yellow. Oh, that's cute. Cutie dooties. So I'm going to go all the way around. Make them all different lengths. Try and keep the number of times that you wrap round the same. So I'm going 4 times around. So you could use any types of threads for this. Perlays, your DMCs, linens, anything at all, anything that you've got to hand. It's quite nice if you can try and use a range, but if you don't have a range of threads, you can easily make things look different, especially if you're doing like DMCs. Using like 1 strand, 2 strands, 3 strands. I'd probably never do more than 3 because it gets a little bit chunky. But when you're doing the couching or something like that, using more is fine because it gives you a thicker line. So if you are just using DMCs, if you've got other threads, you can do them single and double. Getting this all twisted, just hang that up, let it swing round, just to undo itself. There we go. 4, so I'm just going round 4 times. 2, 3, 4. So it's quite nice then to go across some of your other stitching because it breaks the lines up. Right, so twist my needle around the other way because I'm getting this all twisted up. Oh God, no, it's gone round the other way. Right, let's turn my needle around. There we go. That's better. So to have some of them going across the lines and sort of into your strips, it just breaks up the composition of what you're doing, and it makes it all feel a little bit more cohesive and one piece of work rather than lots of little bits and pieces. 2, 3, 4. I think I'm going to run out of thread as I am going around, which is always what happens when you're doing something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get that in there. Oh, it's typical. I only need to do 1 more. Let's tie that off at the back. That's a bit annoying. Let's get a bit more, make sure I get the right one. It's that one. Snippy snip. I tend to just snip them out of bundles like this. You can take them to pieces and put them on separate spools, but I like to leave the tags on because I find that if I don't, I come back to use it later on and you think, oh, I'd like to get some more of that, and then you find that you don't know where it's come from. It's the first time needle thread I've actually got it to work, which is quite cool. Handy little thing, that one. Okay, right, it was around here, so I probably only need 2 more. So I'm going to take one right across, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the other side of there, so it goes across my couching, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Might have one that sort of fits in between. There we go. Let's make sure that just pops out. So we've got that. Now to finish it off, what I need, which I've no idea where they are. Oh, here we go. Hopefully I've got some in here. Yep. So I'm going to pop a little button in the middle. So these are little linen buttons. Oh, that's cute. Pop a little button in the middle, so I'll use my yellow thread again so it fits. And there we have this week's flag. So it's strips and stitch. So this is the composition I've used. Feel free to change it. It does work, the straight lines and then the circle, just so you've got that combination of edges. But depending on your flag shape will depend on what you want to do, as in your shapes. So you might want to have lots of circles and then have one straight line, but that's this week, and I'm not going to trim those off. I really like those. I like the fact that it's wrapped around the top and then that's there. I might, I'm just thinking else, I've got some little buttons on there. Just wondered then about, because I like things in 3s, I might pop little buttons No, I'm not. I'm not. You don't need any more, Al. That's fine. So that's going to be it. I'll stitch it onto the background. So that's our flag number 9. So as usual, can't wait to see what everybody else does. Happy stitching, and I shall see you next Friday. Mwah.